I never expected that a simple stroll through my neighborhood would change everything. I was lost in my thoughts, thinking about the daily grind of life with Ethan, when I saw him. Jasper. He stood there, a charming mason, with a smile that brightened the gray day. It felt like the world slowed down as our eyes met. I could hardly breathe. Who was this man? Jasper had this magnetic presence. His hands were strong and skilled, covered in dust from the bricks he worked with. Yet he carried himself with an ease that drew me in. I felt a rush of excitement, a feeling so foreign to me. My life with Ethan was predictable, filled with work, dinner, and routine. But Jasper, he was like a spark in the monotony. I wondered how I had lived without this thrill for so long. "Hey there," he called out, his voice warm like the sun breaking through the clouds. "You look like you need a break from all this." He gestured around us, and I couldn't help but laugh. "I guess I do," I replied, surprised by how easy it was to talk to him. My heart raced. "What brings you here?" "I'm just finishing up some work nearby. Thought I'd enjoy the fresh air." He flashed that smile again, and I felt my cheeks flush. It was ridiculous how quickly I felt drawn to him. Our conversation flowed effortlessly, laughter pouring from us like we had known each other for years. The way he leaned in, how his eyes sparkled with mischief, everything about him felt electric. I found myself flirting back, teasing him about his choice of profession. "Mason? You must have a thing for building walls," I joked, and he chuckled, shaking his head. "Only the ones worth climbing," he replied, his gaze locking onto mine. My heart skipped a beat. Did he mean what I thought he meant? But as the sun began to dip below the horizon, reality crashed in. I remembered Ethan, waiting at home, blissfully unaware of the storm brewing inside me. I felt a strange mix of guilt and excitement. What was happening to me? I barely knew Jasper, yet I was ready to dive into something unknown. "Can I see you again?" Jasper asked, breaking through my thoughts. His voice was steady, but there was a hint of hope that made my heart flutter. I don't know," I stammered, caught off guard. The danger of it all sent a shiver down my spine. I thought of Ethan and the life we built together. Yet the idea of losing this connection with Jasper made my stomach twist. "Think about it," he said, and I could see the understanding in his eyes. He stepped back, giving me space, but I could still feel the warmth of his presence wrapping around me. I nodded, though I wasn't sure what I was agreeing to. As I turned to walk away, a part of me wanted to look back, to see if he was watching. But I didn't. I kept my head high, trying to shake off the feeling of vulnerability that danced around me like an unwelcome guest. Every step felt heavier as I walked home. I felt the weight of my ordinary life pressing down on my shoulders. Ethan greeted me at the door, his smile bright, yet I couldn't shake the memory of Jasper. I felt torn between two worlds. What did I want? Was it fair to want more? My heart raced with questions that had no answers. Could I really let myself explore this connection with Jasper? Or was I destined to stay in my comfortable, predictable life with Ethan? That night, as I lay in bed, I couldn't help but replay our encounter over and over in my mind. Jasper's laughter, his teasing words, and that electric tension in the air. I felt alive in a way I hadn't in years. But at what cost? The uncertainty hung over me like a dark cloud, and I knew this was only the beginning. As the days went by, I found myself caught in a whirlwind of emotions. My routine with Ethan felt more like a shadow than a life. He would leave early in the morning, often before I even woke up, and return late in the evening, tired from his long hours at work. I would wait for him, trying to fill the time with tasks around the house. But my mind was often elsewhere. It was in those quiet moments that I could feel Jasper's laughter echoing in my head, a stark contrast to the silence of my home. Every morning, I would sit at the kitchen table, sipping my coffee. thinking about how different my life could be. One day, Ethan came in, and I could see the weariness in his eyes. "You okay, love? You seem a bit distant," he said, concern lining his voice. "I'm fine," I replied, forcing a smile. "Just a little tired, I guess." But deep down, I knew it was more than that. I felt alive when I thought of Jasper, a feeling I hadn't experienced in a long time. My heart raced every time I remembered the way Jasper leaned in closer during our conversations. The first time it happened, I could almost feel the air around us crackle with tension. We had been talking about his work, and when he leaned closer, I could smell the faint hint of his cologne. "You know, I really enjoy talking to you," he had said, his voice low and inviting. In that moment, everything else faded away. I wanted to lean in too, to close the gap and see what would happen next. After that encounter, I found myself daydreaming about Jasper more and more. Each interaction we had only deepened my feelings, complicating my loyalty to Ethan. I felt like I was living in two worlds, one filled with comfort and predictability, and the other brimming with excitement and passion. One evening, I made the decision to meet Jasper again. My heart raced as I typed the message, knowing full well the risks. "Can we meet tomorrow?" I sent, my fingers trembling. His quick response made my heart skip a beat. "I'd love that. Where?" I chose a small cafe on the edge of the neighborhood, a place where I could enjoy the thrill of secrecy. When I arrived, I felt nervous and excited all at once. I scanned the room, and there he was, sitting at a table near the window, a smile lighting up his face when he saw me. "Hey there," he said as I approached, his eyes sparkling. "You look beautiful." "Thanks," I replied, my cheeks flushing. I sat down, and we fell into easy conversation, but the air was thick with unspoken words. I could feel the tension building again, just like before. As we talked, I couldn't help but notice the way he looked at me, as if he could see right through the walls I had built around my heart. "You know," Jasper said, leaning in closer, "sometimes I wonder what it would be like if we didn't have to sneak around." His words sent a shiver down my spine, and I felt my heart race. "It's complicated," I whispered, glancing around to make sure no one was listening. "Complicated doesn't have to mean impossible," he replied, his voice low and earnest. "What do you really want?" I paused, the question hanging in the air like a heavy fog. What did I want? I could feel the pull towards him, but the thought of Ethan's face flashed in my mind, reminding me of the life I had built. "I don't know," I finally said, the weight of my confusion settling in my chest. "I just know that being with you makes me feel alive." Jasper smiled softly, but I could see a flicker of concern in his eyes. "Then maybe we should explore this feeling," he suggested. "But you have to be sure about what that means." I nodded slowly, knowing that I was venturing into dangerous territory. I felt the stakes rising with every moment I spent with Jasper. Yet, despite my internal battle, I was drawn to him, captivated by the thrill of temptation that was slowly taking hold of my heart. The moment our lips touched, I felt the world around me fade away. It was as if time stopped, and all that existed was Jasper and me. The kiss was electric, igniting a fire within me that I didn't know was there. It was unexpected and thrilling, but it also shattered my reality into a million pieces. When we finally pulled away, breathless and wide-eyed, I knew everything had changed. "What was that?" Jasper whispered, his voice low and a little shaky. I don't know," I stammered, my heart racing. "I shouldn't have—" "Don't say that," he interrupted, stepping a little closer. "You wanted it just as much as I did." His words sent a shiver down my spine. It was true. I had wanted it. I had wanted him. But with that realization came the weight of guilt. My thoughts raced back to Ethan, who was probably at home waiting for me, unaware of my betrayal. "I need to go," I said suddenly, my voice barely above a whisper. I turned to leave, but Jasper caught my wrist gently. "Wait, let's talk about this," he urged, his eyes searching mine. "I know this is complicated, but I can't pretend it didn't happen." I could feel a lump forming in my throat. "What do we even say? I'm with Ethan, and you're just a guy I met in the neighborhood." "Just a guy?" Jasper raised an eyebrow, his tone a mix of amusement and challenge. "I thought we shared something real." "Real? You think what we have is real?" I felt the panic rising in my chest. "I have a life, Jasper. A life with Ethan." "And what kind of life is that?" he pressed, his voice growing more intense. "Is it what you really want? Or is it just what you think you should want?" His words hit me hard. I didn't have an answer. I felt lost, caught between two worlds. "I can't do this," I said, pulling away from his grip. "I can't keep meeting you. It's not fair to Ethan. Is it fair to yourself?" Jasper shot back, frustration creeping into his voice. "You deserve to feel alive, not just go through the motions." I turned away, struggling to process everything. The thrill of being with Jasper was intoxicating, but the guilt weighed heavily on my heart. I remembered Ethan's loving gaze, his laughter, and the comfort of our routine. That night, I had to go home to him. I had to face the man who thought I was still his. As I walked back toward my apartment, my mind was a whirlwind of emotions. Ethan was waiting for me, and I could already feel the guilt wrapping around my chest like a vice. I opened the door to our home, and the familiar scent of his cologne greeted me. He was on the couch, reading a book, and when he looked up, his face lit up with a smile. "Hey you, how was your walk?" he asked, setting the book aside. "It was fine," I replied, forcing a smile. "Just took some time to clear my head." "Good." He stood up and walked over to me, wrapping his arms around my waist. "I missed you." The warmth of his embrace felt comforting, but it also made my heart ache. I was betraying him, and he had no idea. As I looked into his eyes, I felt a wave of guilt crash over me. "Are you okay?" he asked, concern creeping into his voice. "You seem a little off." "I'm fine," I lied, though the truth was that my heart was heavy with secrets. I couldn't let him see how torn I was. That night, as we sat together on the couch, watching a show we both enjoyed, I felt the weight of my choices pressing down on me. Every laugh we shared felt like a betrayal to Jasper, and every moment of comfort with Ethan felt like a lie. I was living in a web of lies, and I didn't know how to escape it. I realized that every secret meeting with Jasper pulled me further away from the life I had with Ethan. Each stolen moment made it harder to reconcile my feelings. I was caught between two worlds, and I didn't know how long I could keep up the facade. My heart was divided, and every passing day made the truth harder to ignore. The thrill of passion was intoxicating, but it came with a cost that weighed heavily on my soul. The weight of secrets hung over me like a dark cloud as I walked through the door of our home. Ethan was already there, his presence both comforting and suffocating. I could feel the tension in my muscles, the way my heart raced every time I thought about Jasper. It was as if my life had split in two, and I was trying to hold both halves together, but the glue was beginning to fail. "Hey, you," Ethan called out, his voice warm. He looked up from the couch, where he was scrolling through his phone. "How was your day?" I forced a smile, the kind that felt more like a mask than a true reflection of my feelings. "It was fine. Just the usual work stuff." My heart raced as I tried to keep my voice steady, but I could sense that he was paying closer attention than usual. "Really? You seem a bit off today. Is everything okay?" He studied me with those deep, caring eyes, and I felt a pang of guilt twist in my stomach. How could I look him in the eye when I was hiding such a huge part of my life? "Yeah, Just tired, I guess, I replied, hoping my answer would satisfy him. But I could see the doubt flicker across his face. He was smart, and I knew he could sense that something was wrong. Later that evening, I found myself sitting at the kitchen table, my mind racing. The phone buzzed in my pocket, and I felt a rush of adrenaline. I took it out, my heart skipping a beat when I saw Jasper's name on the screen. He wanted to meet. I stared at the message, feeling the pull between my two lives. "Who is it?" Ethan asked, glancing over my shoulder. "Just a friend," I answered too quickly, the lie tasting bitter on my tongue. "Are you sure? You seem really distracted." His brow furrowed with concern, and I knew I was losing my grip on the truth. I needed to talk to Jasper, to confront him, and to understand what we were doing. Later that night, I arranged to meet Jasper at our usual spot, a small park away from prying eyes. As I walked there, my heart thumped loudly in my chest. The moonlight illuminated the path, but it felt more like a spotlight on the choices I had made. When I saw Jasper leaning against a tree, the familiar thrill shot through me. His smile was warm, but something in his eyes looked serious. "Hey," he said softly as I approached. "I've been thinking a lot about us." "Me too," I admitted, my voice barely above a whisper. It feels like it's getting out of control." He nodded, stepping closer. "I know. I can see it in your eyes. You're torn, and it's not fair to either of us." "Ethan doesn't deserve this," I said, feeling the weight of my own words. "He's been nothing but good to me." Jasper stepped back, his expression a mix of frustration and understanding. "But what about you? What do you want?" I took a deep breath, the air thick with tension. "I don't know. I care about you, Jasper, but I can't keep living like this. It's tearing me apart." "I don't want to be the reason you lose everything," he said, his voice steady but filled with emotion. "But we can't keep pretending this is just a fling." "I know," I replied, my heart racing. "But I can't just walk away from Ethan either. It feels impossible." We stood there in silence, the weight of our choices hanging between us. I felt the urge to reach out and touch him, to feel the comfort of his presence. But I knew I had to be strong. "Maybe we need to take a step back," Jasper suggested. "Give you time to figure things out." "Are you saying we should end this?" I asked, my voice trembling. "I'm saying you need to think about what you really want. I care about you too much to let you lose everything over me," he replied, his eyes searching mine. As I walked back home, my mind was a storm of thoughts. The truth was clear now. I was living a double life, and it was starting to consume me. I had to decide: continue this affair with Jasper, risking everything, or face the truth of my life with Ethan. The choice loomed before me like a heavy cloud, and I knew I couldn't escape it for much longer. The night air was thick with tension as I stared at my phone, the screen glowing like a beacon of hope and dread. Jasper's message blinked back at me, asking to meet. My heart raced, torn between desire and the weight of my reality. I took a deep breath, feeling the cool breeze brush against my skin, trying to calm the storm inside me. "Why now?" I whispered to myself, my mind racing. I had been living on the edge, caught between two worlds, and yet here I was, faced with a decision that could change everything. I glanced over at the clock. It was late, and Ethan would be home soon. The thought of him made my chest tighten. He would never understand the pull I felt toward Jasper, nor the thrill that came with each stolen moment. As I walked to our meeting spot, my thoughts swirled. What if this was the last time I saw Jasper? My heart sank at the idea. I had never felt so alive, yet so lost. When I reached the park, the soft light of the street lamps illuminated the path, casting shadows around me. I spotted Jasper sitting on a bench, his figure silhouetted against the light. He looked up and smiled, and my heart fluttered. "Hey," he said, his voice warm and inviting. "I'm glad you came." "I didn't know if I should," I admitted, my throat dry. "But I had to see you." "I've been thinking about us," he said, his gaze intense, "about what this means." I swallowed hard, feeling the weight of his words. "I know I shouldn't be here, Jasper. Ethan, he deserves better." "Does he?" Jasper challenged softly, leaning closer. "You're not happy, are you? I see it in your eyes every time we meet." I looked away, searching for the right words. "It's complicated. I care about Ethan. He's stable." The word felt like a shield, but I knew it was also a cage. "Stable isn't the same as happy," Jasper replied, his voice steady. "What do you really want? A life filled with safety, or one that makes your heart race?" His question hung in the air, heavy with significance. I felt exposed. My truth laid bare before him. "I want both, but I don't know if that's possible," I confessed, my voice shaking. "I never wanted to hurt anyone." "I don't want to hurt you either," he said, his tone softening. "But we can't keep pretending this isn't real. It's only going to hurt more if we keep going like this." His words cut deep, and I felt the tears prick at the corners of my eyes. "What if I leave Ethan? What if I choose you?" The thought scared me, but it also excited me. What if I ruin everything? Jasper reached for my hand, his touch sending a jolt of electricity through me. "You won't ruin everything. You'll just be choosing yourself for once. You deserve happiness, not just stability." I pulled my hand back, my heart racing. "But I love him. I do. He makes me feel safe." "Does he make you feel alive?" Jasper asked, his eyes searching mine. "You deserve to feel alive, to feel passionate about something or someone. Don't you want that?" I closed my eyes, letting his words wash over me. The memories of laughter, of stolen kisses, and the thrill of being with Jasper flooded my mind. But then, I saw Ethan's smiling face, his warmth, and the life we built together. I was at a crossroads, and the weight of my choices pressed down on me. "I don't know what to do," I admitted, my voice barely above a whisper. "Then let's figure it out together," Jasper said, his voice steady. "But know that whatever you decide, I'll be here." In that moment, I felt the walls closing in, the pressure of my decision suffocating. All I could think about was how to choose between love and desire, between the safety of my life with Ethan and the exhilarating unknown that Jasper represented. As I looked into Jasper's eyes, I knew this was a moment I would remember forever. The weight of my decision was heavy, but maybe, just maybe, I could find the courage to choose what I truly wanted. The moment I made my decision, my heart raced like a wild animal. I stood by the window, staring at the street below, lost in thought. The sun was setting, casting a warm glow that felt strangely ironic, given the chill inside me. I had chosen to end things with Jasper, to confess to Ethan. My mind was a whirlwind of emotions, fear, guilt, and a strange sense of relief. As I prepped myself to tell Ethan, I felt my stomach twist in knots. Would he be angry? Would he even want to hear my confession? I took a deep breath and stepped into the living room, where Ethan was sitting on the couch, his eyes glued to the TV. "Ethan," I said softly, my voice barely above a whisper. He turned to me, concern flickering across his face. "Yeah? What's up?" I sat down across from him. "We need to talk." He paused the show, his expression shifting from relaxed to serious. "Okay, what's going on?" I hesitated, my throat dry. "It's about us, about me." I looked down at my hands, trying to collect my thoughts. "I've been feeling lost." He leaned forward, his brow furrowing. "Lost? Why? Did something happen?" I could feel the weight of my secret pressing down on me. I took a deep breath. "I've been seeing someone else." The words hung in the air like a thick fog. Ethan's face changed, a mix of confusion and hurt crossing his features. What do you mean? Who? I swallowed hard. It's Jasper. I didn't mean for it to happen, but it did. I'm so sorry. Ethan's expression turned blank, his eyes searching mine for something. Maybe the truth, maybe a reason. Jasper? The mason? I thought you just liked his work. I did, but it grew into something more, something I didn't expect. I could feel the tears welling in my eyes. I never wanted to hurt you. You mean so much to me. He stood up abruptly, running a hand through his hair. I can't believe this. How long has it been going on? Just a few weeks, I admitted, my voice trembling. But it felt like a lifetime. I've been lying to you, and it's eating me alive. Ethan turned away for a moment, taking deep breaths. You should have told me sooner. We could have talked about it. I know. I was scared. I didn't want to lose you, I said, my heart breaking at the thought of his pain. Losing me? You already did that when you decided to see him. His voice was steady but hurt, like a blade cutting through the air. What do you want now, to fix this? I want to be honest, I replied, tears spilling down my cheeks. I need to figure out what I want, and I can't do that while hiding this from you. Ethan looked at me, his eyes softening slightly. What do you want then? Do you want to be with him? I shook my head violently. I don't know. I thought I wanted the thrill of it all, but now I see how much I value what we have. You've always been my rock. He took a step closer, his expression still pained. But is it enough for you? Can you really forget about him? I didn't have an answer. I don't know, Ethan. I need time. Time? He echoed, his voice rising. You've already made your choice, haven't you? I felt trapped between worlds, my heart torn apart. I chose honesty over lies, Ethan. I hope you can understand that. He ran a hand over his face, frustration evident. I need space. I can't deal with this right now. I nodded, knowing he was right. As he walked away, I felt an emptiness inside me, a void that seemed to echo with the choices I had made. I had opened a door to truth, but the other side was darker than I had expected. Alone in the quiet of the room, I reflected on my journey. I had lost my way, but perhaps this was the first step toward finding myself. I had to explore what I truly valued: security, love, or passion. Each choice led me down a different path, and while I couldn't predict where they would take me, I felt a flicker of hope for the future. As I sat there, the phone buzzed on the table. A message from Jasper. My heart raced. I opened it slowly, unsure of what to do next. Would I respond? Would I choose the excitement that still lingered in my veins? I closed my eyes, knowing I had to confront the truth within myself before deciding my next step. The path forward was uncertain, but it was mine to navigate. Share this story if you believe that honesty is the first step toward true love, even when faced with difficult choices. Leave a comment about a time when you had to confront your own truth and how it changed your life. Subscribe to the channel for more emotional stories like this one.